Penguins, let's begin. They take on Vancouver tomorrow night at 7. And the Pens are 11-8, and they're 5th in the Eastern Conference, 3rd in the Metropolitan. Malcolm's got 7 goals, 14 assists, 21 points. Crosby, 6 goals, 10 assists, 21 points. Now, thoughts on some of these players? Chris Letang.
Chris Letang. Well, obviously it's good to have him back. He's been fine. I think the defense as a whole has been okay. The penalty kill has kind of been a problem, and I know they have to kind of focus on that. But all the problems that the media talks about, I just kind of think it's not the end of the world because it's only November, and the real hockey matters in March and April. So right now I'm okay with it.
All right, a couple of other guys. Patrick Hornquist, Brian Russ, Ole Mata, Jake Gensel, Connor Sheary, Justin Schultz, and Phil Kessel. These guys seem to get a lot of press and a lot of people scratching their heads, and Coach Sullivan practicing during the break, obviously. One of the things one of the fans wrote about at the Penguins website was they need to stop turning the puck over. Passing needs to get a little bit better, and shot attempts must be a little more, I don't want to say perfection, but a little more thought process to it. So some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it's kind of what I said in that first question. These guys have played more games in the last 2 years than any other team. I mean, that's what happens when you win back-to-back Stanley Cups. So, again, I think right now, they haven't looked as crisp. I think, like you said, Mike Sullivan has all these little things that he's picked out and everything. But again, I think these guys are very talented, and they're still a threat in the East. And even with all these flaws, they're still, like you said, 3rd in the division. They're still a threat in the Eastern Conference. So, to me, they're all going to be okay.
All right, first half schedule. There have been some real hockey people who said, looks like Gary Bettman and them trying to turn the heat up in the kitchen to prevent them from becoming, which I already think they are, a dynasty.
Yeah, well, the one thing that someone pointed out was they play one of the hottest teams in the East, the Tampa Bay Lightning, 4 times this year. And all 4 of those times are going to be at the second game of a back-to-back. So I think that's kind of a little fluky, maybe a bit of an advantage for the Lightning there. But I noticed, I think Colorado, I think the New York Rangers, I think a number of teams don't have nearly as many back-to-back games as the Penguins do. I don't know if that was by accident. I don't know if the scheduling people said, okay, let's give the Penguins a real test. Either way, the Penguins, they have to do what they have to do, and they need to work on their back-to-back games because right now it's been a struggle.
My producer, who really could do my job, folks, and probably will someday because he's that good, Michael Garr, from News Radio 1020 KDK. Crosby, Malcolm, end their careers for the Penguins.
Obviously, winning 1 Stanley Cup is a great thing. Winning 3, including back-to-back, to me, puts them with some of the best of all time. I think, to me personally, I think Crosby is a top 10 player of all time. I think Malkin, who, I don't know if you know, got snubbed out of the NHL Top 100 last year, I think he's far better than a lot of those guys. I think, to me, he's in the top 25, top 30. And I think both of those guys will have their numbers retired in Pittsburgh.
What about Mario Lemieux in his future? He's done everything. Saved this team more times than not. What's his future?
Well, I don't know his future, but I know he's a god in the Pittsburgh hockey world. Everyone loves him. He does so much for not only the Penguins but for the Pittsburgh community, and he's just such a likable guy. And like you said, to save this team from possibly moving somewhere else was just huge. And look at where they are, and to keep Crosby and Malkin, and then to win Stanley Cups, to make the right moves. I mean, obviously it's GM Jim Rutherford, making the trade deadline moves and everything. But Lemieux has had such an impact on this team and in the city that I think it's great.
All right, quickly, Steelers, Green Bay coming up Sunday night. It'll be at 8:30 on NBC. Ben Roethlisberger's got 16 touchdowns, 2,597 yards. Le'Veon Bell, 886 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. Antonio Brown coming off that 3-touchdown performance, 1,026 yards, 6 touchdowns. Ryan Shazier has been incredible, 3 interceptions. Cam Hayward, another Ohio State grad, 7 sacks. Packers, Aaron Rodgers been hurt, and that's been a big problem. Brett Huntley against Baltimore, in which they lost 23-0, 239 yards passing, no touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Aaron Jones, 370 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Devontae Adams, 620 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. Demarius Randall, 3 interceptions. Nick Perry, 7 sacks. Again, 8:30 NBC Heinz Field. Steelers questions for you, Le'Veon Bell. need to get more in the mix a little bit? Seems like they're starting to go more to the air, and not that he's getting left behind, but he hasn't been as much of a factor as of late.
Well, I think against Tennessee they went against the air, but it's because the tight ends gave them that, and I think that's a good thing for the Steelers. When there are a lot of teams out there that are committed to their play calling and won't adjust to what the defense gives them. I think last Thursday night was a great example of the Steelers adjusting. Obviously, they would love to get Bell, the ball 30, 40 times, but in this case, the Titans were giving them the pass, so you had to go for it. I think Bell is doing just fine. I think the really interesting question is how Ben's going to fare with the loss of Marcus Gilbert. They just lost their right tackle for 4 weeks, and his numbers are down. They had a little side-by-side comparison of all of his stats, and Roethlisberger isn't as great without Gilbert, so that'll be interesting.
All right, let's talk just a couple of other things. Michael Garr, talking Steelers, we talked about Marcus Gilbert quickly. Offensive line overall, taking him out of the mix obviously is going to hurt, but still, the offensive line, how do you rate the performance?
It's going to hurt. I think they've been okay. I think the defense has been much better. Ben obviously is getting old, so anytime he gets sacked, you kind of hold your breath just a little, but he's managed to stay in the game. Bell started off slow, but he's finding his rhythm. And then obviously when you get time for Ben.
All right, what can they improve on?
Well, I think right now, the real thing they need to improve on is the off-field drama. It seems like every week there's a new story, whether it's Martavis Bryant or, in this case, Marcus Gilbert this week. And they just need to play. I mean, I think sometimes we forget that they're 8-2, and right now they have the 1 seed in the AFC. The big matchup, obviously, is with New England in a few weeks. They just have to keep pace with the Patriots, and if they can find a way to hold down that record, keep winning, get home field advantage, I think they have a real shot to go to the Super Bowl. But it's all this off-field drama that's really it's been the only real issue for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael Garr, ladies and gentlemen, and that'll do it from the Brighton Hot Dog Shop. Good night.